anyone to get off their darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down. Earth from a bird's eye view.
What's good, team? Evan here for Grips.com, fresh back from my trip to Las Vegas for the World Series of Poker. I had my 6th winning summer in a row, an absolutely incredible experience. I know I say this every year, but this was probably my best trip to Las Vegas ever, and it was definitely one for the history books.
You should grow feathers and see this too.
Alright, so in this video I'm going to tell you guys all about my trip to the World Series of Poker, the adventures I got into, the tournaments I played, the results that I had, maybe throw a couple of hands in there. But just before I get into that, I want to give you guys a quick announcement about something very special that's going on at Grips.com. Later this month, this August, we are going to be relaunching the new and improved Grips.com. We have been working on this site for over a year, and we are finally ready to launch. I'll be sending you guys information via email, so if you're on the mailing list, make sure you're checking your email on the regular for updates and leaks and sneak peeks about the new site. And if you aren't signed up for the mailing list yet, easy game, click the link below in the video description, get signed up so that you can get notified when we officially go live. World Series of Poker, baby, 2017. This man right here, he was living the dream. Okay, let's talk World Series of Poker because this trip was just epic, man. It was so epic. Okay, so initial plan for the World Series of Poker, I was only gonna go down for the main event, to play the main event, invest in some players, and do some coaching to help them play their best and make it hopefully to the final table and get that big score. During the summer, I was talking to my friends, I was talking to Greg Merson and Tony Gregg and Calvin Anderson and seeing what was going on with the World Series, how everyone was doing. And Tony said on multiple occasions, Evan, you need to get your ass down to Las Vegas. And I'm like, Tony, man, why do I need to come to Vegas? And he said, Vegas needs you, Evan. Vegas needs you right now. And what I gathered from that is that Tony and the boys and, my family, my second family, they probably wanted some of that energy. They probably wanted some of that good vibes that I usually bring. I'm typically a very grounding presence in the house, keeping people stable, keeping people feeling cool. And when people are feeling down, I'm often the guy who brings in the good vibes, brings some positivity, maybe gets them to do something that they're not normally doing in the routine, that gets them to feel a little better, get a little perspective, and ultimately play a little better. So fortunately, everything fell into place. My sister had her first baby ever, which was incredible, and the baby came a little bit early, so I was then able to go down to Vegas for the World Series of Poker a little bit early. I went down around the 20th, and I told Tony, I will come to Vegas early, but because that city has some tough energy to navigate, it can be a pretty draining place, I'm coming on one condition. He said, what's that? I said, as soon as we get there, we're going to California. He was like, bro, why are we going to California? And I said, the energy out in California is incredible. I've heard amazing thing about these huge forests they have, the national parks that they have out there, from guys like Andrew Lichtenberger and some of my internet mentors. And I said, I think we just really got to check out this place. Tony said, okay, we'll do it. So I came to Vegas, and the plan was we were going to check out Sequioa National Park and Yosemite National Park, and they were just incredible. They were just absolutely incredible. Tony and I went out there for 3 days, which, I could have happily stayed there for 3 months. And we just saw the most amazing scenery, the most amazing nature. We breathed in the freshest air. We saw incredible views, incredible rivers. And we cultivated that feeling of gratitude and that feeling of awe and that feeling of appreciation that I knew would carry through to lead to good results in Las Vegas. Because I'm someone who needs to feel my best, to play my best, and I think that's a pretty common thing in the poker world, especially for those who have been in the game for a long time. We need to be doing things that inspire us, that make us feel good, that make us feel appreciative, that gives us extra motivation to play our best when we go hit the tables. And that's exactly what this trip did. So back in Las Vegas, again, my plan was just to play the main event. I came down early so I could be with the boys, I could offer my support, I could be there for the hangs, I could be there for the chills, because World Series of Poker isn't just about the poker, it's about family, it's about being with your friends. It's like that feeling of being at summer camp where you get to be with some of your favorite people just playing every day, whatever those activities may be. So I was there for the chills, you know. I said, okay, I'll play the main event, I'll come down early, be there with you guys. In the meantime, I'm gonna keep getting my energy up, because that's how I play my best. That's how I am most focused, that's how I'm most attentive, that's how I'm most confident, that's how I make the best decisions. I need my energy up. So I took the recommendation of my martial arts instructor from back home and checked out a new style of yoga, a new type of practice called Dawn Yoga. It's a Korean style of yoga that mixes in martial arts, breathing techniques, and a whole bunch of other things. And it was just absolutely incredible. I went to that class pretty much every day, and I walked out of there feeling so high after every class. Like, this stuff, better than drugs. You're doing Dawn Yoga, you don't need drugs. Just saying. So I was doing this practice every day. I was feeling very elevated, very activated, very confident, very in tune, making great decisions. In addition to this, I was eating really well. There were a lot of really good food options in Las Vegas, and I was just feeling incredible because I was with the people that I loved. I was getting lots of sunlight. I was getting lots of exercise. I was getting lots of great food. I was drinking great water. What wasn't there to get me in a great state? I was meditating every day. I got the whole house to do some meditation. We turned the playroom, the games room, into a meditation hall, which was kind of random but pretty cool. And I was doing my journaling every day. So I was keeping things in perspective, and I was following the system that had got me results in the past. Now, as things were rolling up to the main event, Tony and Greggy took notice of the fact that I really hadn't played any poker since I'd been out there. And they're like, yo, Evan, like, you gotta warm up before you play. And I'm like, do I? I'm feeling pretty good. And they're like, dude, come on, you gotta warm up before you play, get some cards in hand, get some chips in hand. Just go through the motions again to just, you know, reconnect with that state, I said, okay, guys, if you really want me to, fine. I'll go play some cash games, because I just want to play a short session. I don't want to invest, you know, multiple days of play and potentially drain my energy before the championship, which requires like 7 days of play, potentially 10. So I said, okay, I'll go play some cash games. Went to the Rio, played a quick like 1-3 session, won a buy in an hour, came home. They're like, what are you doing home right now? I'm like, I don't know. I went, I played well, I ran well, I made some money, like I'm good. And they're like, dude, 1 hour warm up? Come on, man. You're getting ready to play 10-hour days for multiple days. You're gonna have to practice with a bit more than 1 hour. I said, okay, fine, guys, fine. There's an online tournament going on tomorrow. I'll play the online tournament tomorrow, okay? I'll put in a full session, I'll play a proper session, a one table all day, World Series of Poker event, and I'll see how my game is. I'll see where my game is at. And so the next day, I loaded up my WSOP.com account with $5,000 so I could fire multiple bullets in these things. I wanted to give myself a chance to go deep, and I loaded up my account to play on WSOP.com for the first time ever. I made the account last year, but had trouble like funding the account. So I'm like, all right, we're ready to go. We're gonna fire it this year. And wow, what a tournament. What a tournament. I played definitely the best poker of my life in that tournament. I had some absolutely ridiculous situations that I got into. In the beginning, I was running fairly well, and I was mixing it up, which allowed me to get a lot of extra value from hands. And the good thing about doing that was I realized I can trust my intuition. I can play in the way that feels right, even if it's not, you know, GTO or the most optimal way to play, because for this situation I'm in, I think this is what's gonna work. And I'll be honest, I did my studying before I went down to the World Series because I wanted to be in game shape. I took the Upswing MTT Masterclass so I could be aware of what, the most advanced and the most studied players in the games would be doing, so I could be in tune with that strategy and be able to, adjust appropriately. There was one particularly wild hand that really boosted my confidence a ton in this event. It was a hand against Jai Master Jordan Young, who's a very aggressive player who was playing tons of hands, not looking to fold at all, where he opened late position, and I 3-bet with pocket jacks. Came back to him, and he called. The board came quite low. I think it was like 8-7-5. He checked. I bet small, medium. He called. And this is a guy who's not folding to any C-bets because he wants to get into later street situations where he can put pressure on people and try to take away big pots. The turn was a 6, making it so there's a 4 straight on the board. There's an open-ender on the board, and a 9 makes a straight. He checks, and I check back with about 2x pot behind, planning to call a river bet because I think he has a lot of floats. I think with, there's the one hand I lose 2 pocket 9s, and I think the other hands he's going to bet are probably going to be bluffs. So I just know this guy is going to follow through on a lot of rivers, especially when he senses weakness. He's that type of guy. So I check back intending to call. I say, I hope a queen or a king doesn't come off because those are some of the cards that he may be floating with. And the river was a queen. He put me all in for like 2.5x pot or something. And I'm just like sitting there being like, man, it's a little ridiculous. I wish that queen hadn't come off, but even if he had a queen, he's not going to bet it like this. So he still probably has a lot of bluffs in his range. And I was sitting around with some friends, and my buddy Ryan says, what are you thinking, man? I'm like, I'm thinking I'm probably going to call. He's like, okay, cool, man. Cool, man. Seems like a good idea. He's like, I don't want to influence your decision. It's your decision, obviously, but seems like a good idea. And I said, yeah, man, I'm definitely calling. So I hit the call button, and my man rolled over king jack offsuit for a float, turned into a bluff, which we snapped off. And I think it was the sickest call I've ever made. It was definitely a very sick call for me. I'm not usually the one to make those big type of hero calls. But because I was feeling so just content in general, so happy about how things were going, in life and with the trip, if I was wrong and I got knocked out of the tournament, I didn't care. I wasn't fearful of making a mistake because my entire, level of happiness and being didn't come down to what happened in this tournament. I was just like, I'm playing this tournament. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to make the best decisions I can. And I feel like this guy's full of it. I need to make the call. And I did, and I was correct. And when I won that pot, that really gave me a ton of confidence. I was like, okay, I can do this, We got this. And then I just continued to play really well. I played really aggressively. I brought back some of the tricks from like 7 years ago, playing almost every hand on the bubble. I actually played the last hand on the literal bubble blind because I had such a big chip stack relative to everyone else, and it was a significant cash and $1,000 buy, and people were going to be feeling the pressure, probably falling a lot. So I said, I can just raise anything. Then I played the board. I raised blind. I played the board because it was a great board, paired board, great one to take down. And when I checked to reveal my cards after the hand turnout, I had raised with 9-4 offsuit under the gun, and the flop was 9-9-4. So I probably should have checked, but hey, when you don't know your cards, what are you gonna do? But in addition to playing well, I was running well, and I was in a really elevated state. I was just really happy, really grateful, really excited about everything. I was having a lot of fun. And I think that's when our best poker comes out, is when we're enjoying ourselves and we aren't taking things too seriously. We're taking them serious enough because we know it's, meaningful, and we gotta be focused and pay attention. But it's like a relaxed state of attention. It's like a meditation where you're watching the things come up and you're deciding what's actually important to pay attention to and what you can just let go. Yeah, so I played so good that tournament. It was so much fun. Once we were in the money, I got a bit more conservative, but When I thought people were messing around, I stuck it right to them. You know, when I thought people were 3-betting me light, I'll 4-bet it in. If I think people are opening light, I 3-bet them. And I was just, when we got to the final table bubble, I was opening as many hands as I could when it folded to me. I was 3-betting as many spots as I could because I really just wanted to go for the win. In the past, I've wanted to make final tables because I thought, you know, like it's really good to make a final table. But one of my mentors and best teachers, Calvin Anderson, he told me, you know, dude, it's not about how many final tables you make. Because if you look at the payout structures, how many like 6 do you need to get to make up for 1/3? Or, you know, how many 8s do you need to get to make up for 1/2? And, you know, how many, if you get first, do you realize how few final tables you need to make to be a profitable player? And he's right. Because if you can go to the final table with a big stack, this is also something they talked a lot about in the Upswing course. If you can go to the final table with a big stack, you're probably going to get top 3. Whereas if you go into the final table with a medium stack or a small stack, you're going to have to kind of wait it out because, you know, the other big stacks are putting a lot of pressure on all the players, and you're probably going to finish somewhere between like 5th and 8th. And in the long run, that's not what makes money. So I decided for this one, you know, since it's the first tournament I'm playing, I'm going to play it as a tournament should be played. I am just going to go for it. And that's what I did. And a couple of times I got myself into trouble, but these were really great learning experiences, and I saw what happens when I trust my gut and I go for my read and I put the pedal to the metal. And what I found was that a lot of the opponents, as was taught in the courses, they get out of the way and they kind of let you run the table. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to hold the chip lead quite long enough to run things to the very end. And yeah, we got 4th. We got 4th in the tournament. Got myself into some sticky situations at the end. And oh well, can't get them all. But 4th place, got like 74K. And this was the first tournament I played. In fact, it was, you know, the only tournament I played in months. And it showed that when we learn a skill and we have it deeply and we understand how to do it very well, we don't forget that skill. We don't lose those abilities. And to call out those thoughts and those moves and those techniques and those strategies, the important thing to do is to get into the right state of mind to access that. And for me, that's an elevated state of mind. It's a positive state of mind. It's an intentional state of mind. You know, that day I said, I am going to play this tournament and I am going to give it my 100% focus and attention, and I am going to have so much fun, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to eat well, and I'm going to stay focused, and I'm going to play well. And that's exactly what I did. And I got a World Series of Poker final table on my resume and a pretty good score. You know, 4th place for almost $74,000. Pretty huge. Yeah, so that was a big highlight of the summer. And it showed me that I can do what works for me. And I really encourage all of you who are watching this video to do the same and not always give in to what other people think is the right thing to do, but trust yourself. Because when you're really aligned, when you're really in tune, and when you're really hearing your intuition speak to you, you know what's best for you because you know you better than anyone else does. And so while, you know, my friends like, oh, you got to get in there, you got to get in reps, you got to prepare, I said to myself, maybe that's how you need to prepare. But me personally, I just need to be feeling fantastic and confident and excited and grateful, and I know my best poker is going to come through. And it did. So it's always nice to get that positive reinforcement that says, yes, your hypothesis was correct. This is how to go about things for you. So after that, you know, I took a couple days to chill, got myself a Thai massage, hit the Aria Spa with Tony, got my lax on because I had my stacks on. And next up was the main event, World Series of Poker main event. God, I love this tournament. It's so fun, you know. Nothing could get me in the Rio this summer because I just didn't want to be in the environment of the Rio. I don't know, as I get older, it's not my favorite place to be because there's no sunlight. There's a lot of people who are kind of tilted or sad. You know, it makes for a very profitable environment for those who are playing cash games and those who are playing tournaments. But in terms of the overall morale in that place, it's not exactly the highest. So I was like, thanks, I'll pass. I'll go to the yoga studio where everyone's beaming, and I'll go to the fresh restaurants where everyone's enjoying themselves and they're high off that good food. And I'll just be chilling at the cribs because that's going to keep me in a good state of mind. But the World Series of Poker main event, that's something different. Because when the main event comes around, every single person there is so excited. This is the tournament. This is the one that could change your life forever. It's already changed my life in the past and many of my friends. And I hope that one day it does the same for you. The pros are excited they can make a lot of money. The amateurs are excited that they get to participate in the main event, and the energy in there, it's just electric. So I woke up early, decided to play day 1B of the main event. My original plan was to play day 1A because I believe it is the softest day, and it's also like the least busy. It's the smallest field size, so it's a bit of a calmer environment, which I prefer. If you can handle the hectic energy, last day, always the way to go. You got the most qualifiers and stuff. I was going to play day 1A, but I was up to like 4 a.m. playing the online event, so I needed to rest. And yeah. So I decided I'll play day 1B then. I'm not going to play day 1C. And I showed up early. I had my juices. I was ready to go. I was in state. I'd been meditating. I was focused. I register. I sit down at my table and I look to my left, and who's there? My good friend and world champion, Greg Merson. I'm like, man, this is not the best seat in the house. This is definitely not the best seat in the house. But you know what? I'm going to enjoy it because this is a rare opportunity. How often do you get to play poker in the biggest tournament of the world with one of the former champions who also happens to be your, like, one of your best friends for over 5 years? Unbelievable. So, got in there. We played some poker. It was fantastic. Me and Greggy had a couple battles, nothing crazy. I felt so confident. I was sitting tall, focused, dialed in, good energy, good flow. Charlie Carrel was at the table across from us. You know, our fans had showed up. It was just a fun environment to be in. I was just loving it. I had 2 situations where I flopped sets and had to fold them. Ridiculous. But they were correct, turns out. First one, there was an open in mid position. Small blind called. I completed in the big blind with pocket 8s. Came 8, 5, deuce with a flush draw. Check, check, half pot, fold, call. Because I'm planning to check raise on later streets. With this being a low board, it's a great board for my opponent to barrel on. So I'm planning to check raise later streets, keep all those bluffs in. Turn is a queen, bringing a second flush draw. I check, my opponent bets about 3/4 pot. I call for the same reasons as I called on the flop. River is an offsuit king, bricking both of the flush draws. No straights have got there. I check, my opponent bets like 38 or 4,800. We start with 50K. I check raise to 12,800. And he takes his time, asks me how much I have, and then re-raises me to 25,000. And I just said, wow. This guy can only have queens or kings. So after a little bit of tanking, I folded my hand, and later on he told me that it was definitely a good fold. Just so absurd. The other situation was one where I was in the small blind with pocket 2s. We saw a 4-way flop. The initial opener had made it 800. C-bet 4,000 on a queen 6 deuce flush draw board in a 3,200. I'm like, 4,000? He's like, 4,000. I'm like, all right, I got a set. I call. Turn is an ace. I check, he bets 10,000, and I have like 35K behind. So I know that if I call this, he's going to put me all in on the river. And I just couldn't see him doing this. He was kind of a random player. I couldn't see him going for this huge sizing as a bluff. He hasn't shown that he was a big bluffer. It just felt like he was really going for value. And when I looked at the hands I could beat ace queen, but I didn't even think he'd be going for the sizing with ace queen. So I tanked for quite a while. ended up folding my hand, and he later told the table that he had had pocket sixes. So my intuition was on point, my reads were on point. Unfortunately, the cards weren't cooperating. And later in the day, when I thought this player was tilting, because he'd had a whole bunch of events happen to him where he lost a lot of chips, he'd been very high and gone down, I ended up getting queens in a situation where my man had aces, and we had like a low flop in a 3-bet pot. And I just thought, this guy's tilting. He's capable of getting this in with a lot worse. So I check raised, called off my queens on the flop, got it in pretty bad. Pretty bad. But sometimes that's the way it goes. No matter how well you play, if the cards don't cooperate, there's only so much you can do in this game. And later on, Gregg also busted. We met back up at the house, and he was like, dude, I just want to tell you, you ran absolutely horrible today, but like, you played sick, man. You played sick. Like, I would have loved to swap with you. I think you played fantastic today. Like, your game was really sharp. Your presence was good. And I was just like, wow. What an incredible feeling to hear that from someone whose game I respect so much, and someone who plays all the time. You know, he was grinding every day during the summer. And for him to say that to me about my game and my play made me feel really good. Because he was one of the ones saying, like, dude, you should warm up and practice. I'm like, no, trust me, I got this. I got my own approach, and it's going to work. And he saw firsthand, he was like, wow, that was some good play. So, man, it's just awesome. Like, it was a little disappointing to bust the main event, but I'm like, I can't put my whole year down in the main event. I got to put things in perspective. This is one shot, one opportunity. Yes, it pays the biggest, but I don't need 8 million for life-changing money. I mean, scooping 60 G's is huge. That's enough to do a ton with. If I'm smart with my money, I can do a lot with it. So I actually didn't even mind busting the main too much, and it was cool. I only put in 1 day of play, so no energy lost. That was pretty much it for me for poker. I played the little one for 1 drop. I late registered with like 30 blinds, busted with aces. So I got my aces at the World Series. I was like, yes, this is the feeling I was waiting for. And they got cracked, but I didn't care. I spent 3 hands in the tournament. So my total time spent at the Rio was very small, which, other than for the main event, that was a good thing, because I didn't go to Vegas to be at the Rio all day. I went to Vegas to be with my friends. And the less time I was playing tournaments, the more time I had to be with my friends, having positive experience, having these life-changing experiences that I will remember and cherish forever. For those of you who watched my top 10 tips for succeeding at the World Series of Poker, you know what I'm talking about. You know that I'm about setting the game to win, going there with an intention, knowing what you're there for, and then focusing on that. And for anyone who's watching this video who didn't watch the World Series of Poker top 10 tips, I strongly encourage you to do so you can learn just the steps to take to guarantee yourself a winning experience regardless of what happens on the table. That video will teach you how to have a winning experience without it being depending on luck. This is you having full control. And speaking of full control, when the poker was done, I said, you know what? I'm going to have some fun this year. I usually take things serious. I usually say no to all the parties and no to most of the dinners. I'm like, no, I'm here to experience life. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to celebrate our togetherness, our happiness, our success. Let's do it. So the last 3 nights in Vegas, man, I went to some incredible parties. I went to some incredible parties, different types of parties, but just incredible parties. And I can't get into them too much because you guys know how it goes. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But let me just say to everyone who was at these parties, thank you so much for the experience, for the invitations, and for sharing your beautiful energy and presence with me. These were truly life-changing parties, life-changing experiences, and the connections I felt with everyone were just so deep on another level. I've never felt that level of connection, acceptance, love, and appreciation before. So just thank you all so much. And for anyone who wasn't at those parties, I hope you'll be at those parties in the future, because we're gonna do this stuff again. And trust me, like, there is no better feeling than the feeling of just love between people. I have some comparisons. You know, in 2012, we won the main event. You know, Greg Merson won the main event. All us homies, we had a piece. We were in on it. We know that feeling. This year, Greg Merson, he got married. And all the homies were there. We all experienced the wedding. We all had, you know, a piece. And we had that feeling. And I'll tell you, the feeling at the wedding was actually even better than the feeling of winning the championship. Very peak experiences, both of them, very incredible. But the feeling of love and the feeling of family, to me, it actually trumps the feeling of success and the feeling of victory. And that I may be biased because I've had both experiences. And I think for a lot of us, we need to have that feeling of victory first to see just how good it is before we can say, it's about love, it's about family, it's about connection. So by all means, go for it. I'm not saying don't go for it. I'm just saying that the latter is actually better. And the latter is like, there's an infinite amount of it. There's an infinite abundance of it. So it's just, oh my God. Wow. Just thank you. Thank you, all the friends, all the family, everyone who made it possible, everyone who's a team member, everyone who's a fan, everyone who's a follower, everyone who's a viewer. I just want to thank you so much, because the energy that you all share and the energy that you bring together really elevates me, inspires me, and encourages me to keep on going. And I have had like the best life experiences ever since starting this whole project, and they just keep getting better and better and better. And I hope that in watching these videos, you are, you know, feeling some of this emotion that I'm trying to translate through the video. I hope you're feeling inspired to go out there and do similar things, to meet incredible people and have incredible groups of friends and go on these experiences that you get to share together, that you can cherish for a lifetime. Because that's what it's all about, is living a life that you are just so proud of and you are so happy about. And that when you look back, you're like, wow, can you believe we did all that? How cool is that? Yeah, sorry, I got a little emotional there, but I can't help it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So, last little bit of the trip, the wedding was absolutely incredible. Then I went to spend a week with my man, Tony Gregg, in DC. Checked out the capital of America. Man, pretty cool, man. Y'all got some great monuments, got some beautiful people, got some great yoga classes, and I really enjoyed myself there. We just hung out. We just played cards. We played Rummy. We played Dominion. He taught me a little bit about Magic, and it was awesome playing these games because I'm like, wow. For the first time in years, I'm playing a card game with no money at stake. There's no betting. There's no action. So there's no stress. There's no like elevated state of like, oh, I can win and it means a lot. It's just like, oh, we can just relax and enjoy a game, and we can use our minds and play together and play strategy, but it doesn't have to be about money, crazy competition, you know, survival type stuff. That was a life changer, because I don't know about you, but for me, cards absolutely saved my life. Cards were some of my best friends growing up. I had so much fun with my grandparents playing cards, playing solitaire, playing games by myself, learning games, just figuring them out, working with the cards, tarot cards, any kind of cards. And getting to go back to that and realizing that it can be about fun, that it doesn't just have to be about money. Major shift, a major moment of appreciation and gratitude, because I'm like, right, life's a game. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyed. And it can be enjoyed most when we're playing great, you know, which usually happens when we're feeling great. So at the end of the trip, I spent 2 days with a buddy of mine, Rob Hartman. If you want to look him up, check out stressfreedc.com. And he showed me some really powerful techniques for relieving stress, relieving tension, revealing past trauma from fear, anxiety, worry, depression, any of those chronic feelings from the body, to get rid of chronic pain, to get rid of blocks, to get rid of like unhelpful thought patterns, to help me feel freer, to help me feel more confident. And those techniques were really powerful. Major shift, major shift. My intention is to share these techniques with you in the future as I learn more. And I'm just gonna keep on going. I'm just gonna keep on growing. And I'm just gonna keep sharing everything I can with you guys to hopefully inspire you, to live a life that you are proud of, to teach you tools and techniques to help you do so, and to motivate you to take action and follow through so that manifesting can actually take place. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed my trip recap from the 2017 World Series of Poker and my little summer camp experience with my besties. Please feel free to leave any comments below in the video, what you thought about the video, maybe some awesome things that have happened to you, maybe some things that you might help me enjoy life even more, or just anything you feel like sharing. I would love to hear from you. I would love to read your comments. I'd love to know what's going on in your life, and see if there's some ways that we can work together and help make life even better. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know how I'm doing. And don't forget to sign up to that mailing list if you haven't already, so that you can get updates on when the new and improved grips.com is launching. It's gonna be soon, and it's going to be amazing. I'll see y'all next video. Until then, you know what to do. Take what you learned, go out there, and get stacking. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya, Bija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Sometimes you just gotta chant, you know? Om Namah Shivaya.